joined Toastmasters Club, my friend was telling me that she always writes her speech before she stands up and delivers it. And I said to myself, oh, I'm not going to do that. Why should I do that? And I delivered a few speeches and they were not very good. And she kept telling me, you have to write your speech and practice it before you deliver it. Okay, I started to do that. And believe it or not, my deliveries became better and better. Now, as a preface to my presentation, I want to tell you that there is a big difference between a written text and a spoken speech. In the written text, you are not going to use the filler words like, oh, you know, and all these silly things that we have been doing when we speak. But in the speaking language, you have to be conversational. Even the guest speaker was saying that you have to be conversational while you are speaking. It's not a presentation, it's a conversation with your audience. So the written language and the spoken language has differences, but if you construct your speech and practice it, you will be able to deliver it in a very nice conversational style. And this is what I'm going to share with you, how to write your speech. Following the writing process is my advice. The writing process that I used to teach actually has 4 elements: plan, draft, revise, and finalize. Now you see there are arrows between the plan, draft, and revise, and there is no arrow in the final between the revise and finalize. Why? Because you have to keep a little break in between the two. Now, let me point out more in details. The planning phase is where you are going to think what you are going to talk about. In the drafting phase, you are going to scribble without thinking. In the revise phase, you are going to edit your scribbled notes, and then you will have to incubate. What is incubate? Keep some distance between revising your speech and finalizing it when you are actually get ready. Now, of course, in this show, I am going to address all the 4 elements one by one, and I encourage you to ask questions either in the chat or just yell out your questions, because I don't want to have unanswered questions. So let's see the first segment, the planning phase. When you think what you are going to talk about, you have to ask these questions. You have to imagine what the audience is going to ask. What is in it for me? Will I get anything meaningful from this speaker? And what should I do next? So the first thing that you'd have to do in the planning phase is ask yourself, why should the audience listen to you at this time? Now, what is the purpose is the next item you have to concentrate on when you plan. What is your message? There are only 3 kinds of speeches. You want to inform, you want to motivate, or you want to entertain, but you have to decide this in the planning phase. The next item, what you have to think about, is what you are going to speak about. I learned it in the Dale Carnegie course, that you have to think about these 3 points. Do I have the urge to write, to speak about this? Am I passionate about this subject? And am I eager to share it with my audience? Now, I'm going to give you an example here, because if you ask me to give a presentation about golf, I did not earn the right to talk about it because I don't play golf. I don't even want to play golf, and I can never be passionate about it. So I have to talk about something that I am really fulfilling these three categories. So that was the planning phase, when you have to think first. The drafting is when you pick a subject, and usually a personal story that you have personally involved in. When you scribble, start writing as quickly as possible without editing. When I learned about the writing process, I was told if you use the computer, just shut off the screen and don't even look at what you are writing. Start as quickly as possible and do not edit while drafting, because the editing is going to give you the writing block. Ignore grammar, punctuation, spelling, and style at the same time when you are just scribbling. That's not the time to go back to correct yourself, because you are going to lose the flow. I would say eliminate the GPSS, grammar, punctuation, spelling, and style. It is hard to resist, but I'm asking you, this is the way how you are going to write a wonderful, wonderful speech. Now, what happens in the revise phase? What will you do? You will have to edit. This is the time when you are going to revise it several times until you are satisfied. That's why I wrote it 3 times in red, because you have to revise it several times. You have to compose a grand opening with a question, a bold statement, or some visualization. Be creative. Create a final message, what you can use at the end, or call for actions. Give a catchy title. You don't have to start giving the title. It will give itself to you after you created the grand opening, the final message, and something in between. Then you can give the catchy title. And of course, it's very helpful to refer to resources in the revise and edit phase. Now, I know I mentioned that you are not going to finalize it immediately, because you will incubate. You have to walk away from what you have written so far. Let it cool, brood, sleep on it. Leave enough time to hatch. These are just synonyms, because I want to emphasize the need for it. Now, if you have to write your speech quickly because next day is, or the next hour will be your presentation or your speech, you can give yourself a break still. You go to the bathroom or go and pick up some coffee or tea, walk away from it. Walk around your office or your home, or go upstairs, downstairs, whatever, but walk away from it. And when you walk back, then you will see that maybe you want to revise it again and find a better title or a better opening or a better closing. Let it soak in, and practice and practice and practice reading the text. However, when you speak, you are not going to read it. By then, you will know what you are going to talk about. And when you finalize it, you will double check the 3 C's. Am I clear enough with what I have been talking about? Am I concise enough, especially in Toastmaster meetings? You are given time, certain time element. And am I correct with these statements? So double check and revise if necessary. This is the finalized stage. While practicing, you can use your notes, but don't memorize your notes and remain conversational while you are practicing. You can practice in front of a mirror or in front of your dog or cat or the spouses, but you have to really practice it aloud. You can use your mentor or anyone for giving you feedback. I learned it from somebody who is smart, that there are actually 3 kinds of speeches. What you are preparing, what you are actually delivering, and what you say afterwards. I wish I had done this. I wish I could have said that. Nobody in the audience has seen your written speech. We don't know what you left off. We don't know what you added or changed. Relax, because this is the best way to remain conversational. I want to emphasize with you that I firmly believe in that writing and speaking is a process. The result is your product. I used to quote this in my quality training, not necessarily in the how to write a good document, that if the process is broken, the result will be junk. If the process is good, the result will be good, quality result. So keep in mind that if you use this 4-step process and follow the advice, and we will discuss what kind of questions you have very soon, your result will be success. So the final message: pick a required or elective project for any of the pathway modules or levels. During Toastmasters, we have the opportunity and the gift to actually use as many speeches as many we want. There are so-called required speeches that you cannot fulfill the whole pathway module without, but there are a lot of elective projects, and I personally think that they have a lot to offer, and you can learn a lot from those elective projects. The other day, I gave a speech to a Girl Talk club, and I told them, I put a sign up 100, and I said, well, Toastmaster organization is 100 years old, but this 100 refers to my speech. This is my 100th speech in 5 years. Now, you don't have to give so many speeches, and you don't have to choose all the electives. I wanted to use electives. Now, when you speak, you use the appropriate words and phrases. I know that English is not my mother tongue, so there are certain words that I really don't know how to pronounce correctly, although I have been here for half a century, and I used to teach English as a second language in my original country. But I try to avoid those words and phrases that I really don't know how to pronounce. We also have to watch out for local and regional idioms and word problems. I will give you an example. When I use the expression, hold your horses, I happen to use this expression in United States, a state where I was told I shouldn't use this because it's kind of derogatory. I don't remember which state it was, but never use it again. There are other idioms that I never understand and never use. And sometimes I have to ask, what do you mean by it? So when you talk to an audience, you have to watch out for those elements, because in Toastmaster meetings, you and I observe that not everybody is perfect English because they come from different countries. So be nice to those people who don't necessarily know the regional idioms. Follow the process. I'm pretty sure that you can memorize, even though it's more than 3 steps. But what is the process? Plan, when you have to think. Draft, when you have to scribble without any corrections. When you revise, that's when you go in the editing process. Then you keep a distance and let it cool, and then finalize it when you get ready. And that is the good process that will give you good results. Is it easy to memorize? I'm pretty sure it is. Now I am going to stop sharing, and now I would like to entertain questions. As soon as there is one that I can hear, either from live people or somebody reads the chat, I appreciate it.
Fred has his hand up, Julie. Hey, Fred.
Yes, Fred.
Hey, Julie. Question is, I've been writing my speeches since I've joined Toastmasters, but I have a tendency to try to like remember what I wrote down, and I know that's not a good thing. And I know you said something earlier about not memorizing, because I pretty much do the same process you talked about, except the incubating. So, what would be your recommendation for? I usually just try to remember the key points. If I forget the little words, I'm not that worried about it. So, what
Yes.
would your recommendation be?
I personally don't have the talent to memorize a speech. You might have the talent, but I write down key words for myself to remember, not to forget, to say. And sometimes, since English is not my mother tongue, I write some words that I definitely want to insert as a good word or a good phrase or a good quote that I don't want to forget. Now, if you can memorize your speech, I don't have anything against memorization, but you have to keep it conversational. You have to keep it not artificial. So I don't know what else to say, but it has to come out naturally from your mouth. If you have written your speech, which you say you have, and you practice it, then you probably will have a better chance not to use the so-called filler words. And that is the success if you write your speech. Now, incubation is one of my favorite portion of the process, because sometimes when you walk away from your speech, you actually can recognize what you should be saying in different sequence or with different words. So you craft your speech that will be motivational, inspirational for your listeners, and make sure that you are not the ego person, but you are paying attention to the audience's needs. As I said in my presentation, the audience is going to look at you and say, why should I listen to this person? That's why the introduction tells the audience what my background is. So maybe I have the right to talk about it. But the most important thing is, what am I going to benefit from the speaker? This is selfish, but everybody in the audience says, what am I going to learn? What will I get out of it? And you listen to this keynote speech, who was a international winner. Are you going to win internationally? I'm not going to, but still, I learned from him not how to become an international winner, but what kind of nuggets I can internalize and use. Thank you for your great first question. What is the next question? What do I get here? There are so many nice people, 23 people, so every one of them has to ask at least one question.
Actually, Debbie Joe is.
Yes, Debbie Joe. Debbie Joe is one of my friends, so she can ask the next question.
Thank you, Julie. Great presentation, a lot of great nuggets there. I have a question. Do you have suggestions on how to come up with your subjects?
I have many ideas, but my initial idea is, what am I passionate about sharing with my audience? I know that even though the majority of the people who I meet don't necessarily love classical music, but I want to make sure that I talk about Mozart, because the Mozart effect is proven that even cows can give more milk if they listen to Mozart. There is a book on the market that I read a long time ago with the title The Mozart Effect. Now, the Mozart Effect book doesn't necessarily force you to love Mozart, but it tells you that music is part of our life. Even the cavemen were singing before they were able to talk. So music is our second nature. And if I want to have a talk, I either talk about music because I love music. The second thing I love to talk about is books because I love to read. The third subject is swimming because I love to swim. And the fourth one is, I was having speeches about how to teach your babies to swim, especially in an area like California or Arizona, where I lived, and Florida, where little babies are dying, drowning in pools. So these are subjects that I am always ready to talk about. So what I earned the right to talk about, what I am passionate about the subject, and I'm eager to share it. Sometimes people ask me, where did you come from? Because my accent is giving me away. Am I willing to talk about the communist country where I came from? You bet. Are you interested in it? I'm not sure, but if I point out to you what is the difference between a communist country and the American way of life, then you will appreciate my speech. So I think that is my standard answer that I learned from Dale Carnegie course, these three things: passionate to talk about, eager to share, and enthusiastic about it. Thank you for the question. Another question. Two people already asked, so we have 20 more questions.
Julie, we had one question in the chat from Amber. I don't know if
Yes,
you want to ask it live, Amber, or I can read it.
yes. Amber, I'm ready.
Okay, let me figure out how to do things here. So yes, as I spoke to in the chat, I love the nuggets. And I dug these two things stood out to me that I just want to make sure I heard them correctly, right?
Yes,
Because I didn't take my ADHD medication today. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so am I correct when I think that you said just right? Don't interrupt the flow and momentum, that we can, you know, edit it later. I've really,
right.
really dug that because I'm constantly like, and then I screw myself up. So I really dug that. Thank you. And then, so you're shaking your head. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Because what you said earlier, I totally feel. I work in corporate America also, and it's nothing
Yeah.
but a sausage party, and I have to constantly diplomatically stick up for myself. And I'm not a bra burner or anything. I'm just saying. So I empathize, and thanks for being a pioneer. Because not for nothing, you know, Anyway, okay. So then,
Yes,
for sake of time, you also said don't rush creating your title. Is that what I understood? Like,
yes. Now I answer the first question first because these are not my ideas. I was certified to teach the Franklin Covey Shipley Associates writing class that I was teaching for 30 years. And they were saying that in the drafting, and that's what I was told, black out your CRT. So you won't even see what you write. Just write on the keyboard, write, and don't go back and forth because this is what causes writer's block. That is stopping the flow. Don't worry about anything, grammar, punctuation, style, nothing. Just write. And if you write with pencils or paper, don't go back to correct. Just write. Just write. I have written my autobiography for my children because I had an interesting life for my children. I'm not going to publish it, but I was writing. And when I had 300 pages, that's when I went back and corrected everything and put them in sequence. It was not even in time sequence at all, just whatever I was thinking of. And it helped me. So writing is the scribbling and letting your brain flow to the paper. And when you are editing it, then you can go back. It saves time also, because if you keep on going back and correct it, you lose time. I know that sometimes a stupid spelling error gives you a hiccup in the whole process. So I think that you can try this. And I'm writing articles, as Debbie Jo knows. I write articles for the Synergy newsletter. And what I'm doing is just writing. And then 2 days later, I say, oh my God, what did I write here? It shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be at all there. But there are other things that should be in the beginning. So that helps me, the incubation period as well. Now, answering the second question, many people, big writers, famous writers, write a novel and give the title last. Or, for instance, when Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he wrote the whole book, and then the editor recommended not to use the same title that he was originally going to use. And the editor was recommending it to put it into 7 steps because he had 35 steps. So, yes, I think that the third thing I will say to you, Amber, and everybody else, don't just listen to Julie Salgo. I'm not the expert. You use your own judgment. If you want to write the title first because you got a very catchy title and you build on that, be my guest. So I had three questions so far, and
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you for asking. What does this green mean? Do I have to finish it?
Oh, it means you have 15 more minutes.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So who is the next question? Thank you so far for the brave questions. I still have 19 questions to go at least. Sal is my other friend. Yes.
Well, I actually see a question in the chat, but it's also my question. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I had to step out at the first 4 slides, so I was embarrassed to ask because I don't know what you said. I was trying to help somebody get in. Anyway, Jeannie asked, what do you think about outlining the speech before you write your first draft?
That's a very, very good method. That's a very good method. And I used outlining when I was designing my training classes. So for instance, change management. What should I include in my change management classes? And I put a little outline that this is definitely I want to do. The outline is going to help you with the planning phase and the composing the first draft. So I think that's a very, very good idea, especially if you write a scientific paper, for instance, or a travel report for your company if you have, because I had to write travel reports after I had my business travels. So you have to write down what you want to address in a shape or form? Yeah, that's a very good question. But I can email you my whole presentation if you want,
Please.
and you can get everything that you missed.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I keep telling these people who ask a question they are my friends, but all of you are my friends, so I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but I love questions. This is how we learn. And I don't want to leave this session with unanswered questions. Okay, how about the fellow, Bill Lambert or Peter? The girls are braver or what?
All right. You caught me off guard. All right. So
Yeah.
what communist country did you come from, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind to ask because my Hungarian accent always.
I'm trying to get the music. Okay, so I can't find the other one, so I'm just gonna play what I.
My
That's my bad.
Hungarian accent always gives me away, but I have been in the country for almost half a century. And when I came here, everybody said, Zsa, the notorious actress who was like the Kardashian nowadays. There are so many famous Hungarians, and I did give a speech long ago, 4 years ago, for one of the Toastmasters meeting about famous Hungarians. You didn't even know they were Hungarians. And maybe I should give you a speech one day in any of the clubs. For instance, the Rubik Cube. Do you know that Rubik, Mr. Rubik, is a Hungarian engineer, still lives in Hungary? Oh, even Debbie Jo doesn't know. You see? That's what it is. So it's not only Zsa Gabor, but a lot of famous Hungarians are in Nobel Prize winners too. Yeah. So next speech will be on that one. Very good. So that was William Lambert. How about, I still have green signs, so I want to answer questions. I don't mind. I don't mind Sal. She is very inquisitive. All right.
Yes, I personally find it incredibly difficult to write speeches. And last year I decided to tackle humor. And that was like another level of difficulty for me.
Yes.
I have this tremendous idea for anybody who could write a book based on how much I struggle with speech. But do you have any suggestions when you're trying to write like humor versus a normal speech?
Well, I am a normal person, not a humorous person, so I don't think I will be able, but your speech was absolutely sensational when you delivered the humorous speech contest. It was fabulous. And especially at the end, when you said, and we are still together with my husband, we are still married to each other. You kept a little space, and it was just so wonderful. Anyway, humor is not my specialty. If it doesn't come out naturally, don't force it. And sometimes people find something funny that I don't find funny at all, and vice versa. I feel so embarrassed because two of my clubs that I belong to, at the end, there is a joke master. I never laugh at their jokes because I don't get it. And when I am the joke master, nobody gets my joke. So I admit I am not a good person to advise you, but joining this humor club, Find Your Funny. I know my friend Susan Schultz is improving with her humor, but I'm not joining because I attended their meetings and I thought it was artificial. Don't tell them. It's my fault, not their fault. You can write speeches, beautiful speeches, Sal.
Well, I
Okay.
think humor is very cultural, because I also don't understand some humor, and I know some people don't understand my humor. It is a very cultural thing. So
You are
when I wrote
absolutely
that
right.
speech, I spent about a year trying to do a little bit of humor study every day, even if it was just watching 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
And it took me about a year to kind of get it. And then I tackled the humor path in Toastmasters. I haven't finished it yet. I've done 3 levels, and I found it to
Yes.
be just ranks more difficult than doing the normal path because
Right.
of the humor
Right.
element. I
Yeah.
just wondered if you had any wisdom that I have not yet discovered. But
No, you are a wise woman. Now, since no questions are asked, I'm going to ask people and be honest. Daron, what is the one thing that you learned from this presentation that you listened to today, from my portion, not the previous portions?
I learned that I am basically using that technique to do speeches also, especially the part about writing it, revising it, and sitting back, and because I kind of do that in life. I usually let it marinate for a little while and come back to it. And usually you find,
Yeah.
what you missed or what you should add. So that's, and your presentation was really good. It was very straightforward, and I could see why a lot of people are not asking questions because I think they really understood it.
Just one thing, what you learned, and this one is another Julie. Yeah, I have to ask another Julie. What is the one thing that you either learned today from me or from others, or you suggest something that we didn't address?
She put her answer in the chat, I think.
Oh,
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's a different Julie. I apologize. Okay.
I wasn't sure which Julie. One
Oh,
thing that
there are 3 Julies in here. Oh my God. Yeah, whoever Julie will
I
answer, I
apologize.
appreciate it. Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Julie E. One thing that I've
Okay.
learned from today's chat is about the organization, the 3 C's. I always found that useful. And it's something as a gentle reminder that I can share back with my group. And also just letting your brain be free and just be able to scribble and, until your
Yeah.
thought process come together.
Julie Everett, you are great to mention the 3C because it has to be clear, concise, and correct. And if you deliver an incorrect information, you can say, I'm sorry. But if you are too long and too windy, people are going to fall asleep, and you are not going to win the contest if you are out of the time limit, and so on. Thank you. Now, Anna, excellent.
Thank you so much. Really, your speech and your presentation were very good. And the thing that I get very concerned about, especially because we have a time limit that sometimes we're too short or sometimes we're too long, I worry about my content. I don't want to belabor my passionate presentation, but sometimes I think that when you give too much, it's just too much. And when is it enough?
I love the question. First of all, that's why we have to practice, because it's necessary. I will tell you a concrete example. I hope I still have enough time. I had to present something to the Intel president to convince him of something, and he gave me 5 minutes to present. I practiced my 30-minute presentation until I cut it down to 5 minutes. And then he said, Julie, go for it. And he accepted my recommendation. So it's very, very, very important to give an executive summary. Nobody wants to listen to more and more. And frankly, I don't like this joke when we say DTM stands for don't time me. We should time, and we should learn how to stay within the time limit. Practice, and then try to cut out the fat. Try to cut out that is not absolutely necessary. I love your question, and you are my friend. Okay. I
Yeah.
know that
You
Maria
have another
Mau
question,
is,
Julie. Marjorie.
yes,
Marjorie.
yes,
I don't know what it's comment,
Marjorie.
question. I don't know what it is. But for years, I have been writing stories, humorous stories, and I've presented them like you, I'm from another country, and I've presented them in the dialect. I have a lot of people that like them. A lot of people ask for them. I've done them. I've written them down. But even if, whenever I have to, even if I do the same story in, I would say, English, I lose the humor. I don't understand why, but somehow it's like lost in translation whenever I have to do it in correct English. And I don't understand why I can't have the same humor when I'm doing it in English.
It is cultural. It is absolutely cultural. And everything else is, even the idioms. When Americans say to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, in Hungarian we say we kill 2 flies with 1 fly swatter. I mean, it's cultural. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody wouldn't understand what I'm talking about when I am addressing how we lived in the communist country. You can't relate to it. You cannot relate to it. And yes, Marjorie, it is an issue, but you will get feedback from your mentor what to say and how to say and what to do and what not to do. And that's my advice. Get a mentor, and he or she will give you valuable feedback.
I want to thank Julie Salgo so much today for being our presenter here and delivering so much value to us. All of us, I'm sure, got a nugget. My big nugget was on the incubation. That's the one I have always missed, and I'm going to put that into practice from now on in my next speeches. So thank you so much, Julie, and grab that evaluation form, and then you can hit the blue button to leave the room to go back into the general session for the close.
Thank you very much. And it shouldn't be just a smile sheet. You can give me feedback for improvement opportunities.